Good evening there, everybody. What is happening? Hopefully, y'all are having a wonderful day today. So, when it comes down to it, I thought, of course, that I would give my little fight review and my fight analysis on the Ryan King Garcia versus Devin the Dream Haney fight that, of course, that recently ended up just happening. And, of course, for those of you that did not end up hearing about the results, Ryan Garcia, of course, was able to pull off in some overall retrospects the major upset over that of Devin the Dream Haney. And this, of course, very unfortunate for Devin Haney, pretty much derails a certain amount of his plans to possibly, at least at the moment, challenge Javante Tank Davis. And this probably resets his career back quite a bit. Because even though Ryan Garcia, of course, is a big star, he's one of the bigger faces in boxing. Ryan Garcia is still a guy that, in my view, he fights very much like an amateur. And for those of you overall that once again did not end up seeing the fight, Ryan Garcia, pretty much the reason why he won this fight is because he was able to knock down Devin Haney, I believe, on three separate occasions. And in my personal view, when it comes down to it, there should have been two more knockdowns. I believe in that round seven when he knocked down Devin Haney with that left hook because he hurt Devin Haney, and then Heavy Haney would go on the hold, and then he would go down because his legs were so wobbly while he was holding on to him. In my view, the referee, I believe his name is Harvey Dock, even though he's been good in certain fights, I do not think that he did the best of jobs in this fight. I thought that, in my view, that he could have got a little bit more after that of Devin Haney for some of the holding, and I don't think that holding is a bad thing at all. But when you're holding, as long as what a Devin Haney does, in my personal view, you should somewhat get deducted for that, at least if you're doing it, every 5 seconds. Now, to be fair, of course, Devin Haney was very badly hurt, so I'm not really going to expect him to go all out. But in my view, the referee was going a little bit too hard after Ryan Garcia, at least in certain moments. Now, some of those times deserved because Ryan Garcia, of course, he was also holding at certain times. It wasn't just Devin Haney in this fight. But in my personal view, I think that the referee should have at least issued a warning to that of Devin Haney for holding on a little bit too long. Just my personal view of it. But also, certain people, they may ask the question, did Ryan Garcia deserve to win this fight? In my view, Ryan Garcia did deserve to win this fight because I believe that I gave Ryan Garcia about 6 rounds, and I think that I gave Devin Haney about 6 rounds. I may have even gave Ryan Garcia 7, but to be honest with you, I can't remember. What I do remember is that I believe I scored this fight about 114 to 112. The scorecards were a little bit mixed. I think that's, one judge had it even 112 to 112. I could kind of see that if you gave Devin Haney the last round. Personally, I did not give Devin Haney the last round. I thought Ryan Garcia landed more. I thought he landed the more impactful punches. I don't really know why a lot of people thought Devin Haney won the last round. I personally thought Garcia did. Now, the one scorecard that was 115, I believe the 109, I would have to, look at that to see exactly, what type of a scorecard that is. But in my view, that was a little bit too wide in my personal view. I thought that 115 to 109, I thought that that was a little bit too wide. Devin Haney, in my view, he did lose this fight, but I don't know if it was by that much. I think that Devin Haney, he lost by a couple of points, maybe 3 points, when it comes down on probably at most. And it's very disappointing for Devin Haney, of course, because he was the very focused fighter within this fight. He was the very disciplined fighter, but this just goes to show you once again some of Devin Haney's weaknesses. And Devin Haney is not a bad fighter by any means. He's a borderline great fighter. But after this, certain questions are going to have to arise. How great really is Devin Haney? Because he had a full training camp, he looked fully focused. And I'm not stating that Ryan Garcia didn't look focused, but you could tell that Ryan Garcia, just in my personal view, that he was nervous. A lot of the times, it looked like he was looking for little cheap tricks or certain times for the referee to yell at Devin Haney. Now, don't get it twisted. The referee, in my view, in this fight was terrible at times. But, also at certain times, Ryan Garcia, you could tell that he didn't even believe that he was a better fighter compared to Devin Haney. But like I've always stated, Devin Haney is a guy, especially by a lot of these LDBC and new media channels. They love to say that Devin Haney and that these fighters are the quote unquote Michael Jordans of the sport. Devin Haney is not a Michael Jordan of the sport. Devin Haney, and when I say Michael Jordan of the sport, keep in mind this. Michael Jordan is, in my view, the greatest basketball player of all time. So you can't really call Devin Haney or someone like a Javante Tank Davis the Michael Jordan of the sport because what that would entail is that they're debatably the greatest of their sport ever. Now, if you want to talk about the best in the world, you could potentially debate that, or you could have before this fight. Haney was at number 6 or number 7, I believe, on my pound for pound list. After this fight, he can't be on my pound for pound list at all. because he just lost to a fighter overall that Gervonta Tank Davis, I believe, was able to stop within 7 rounds. And that was when Ryan Garcia was more focused and, in my view, in a better state of mind. And on top of that, clearly had better conditioning because Ryan Garcia, it was very apparent that his conditioning was not up to par. And it's no offense against Devin Haney, but like I always stated, he's not a great defensive fighter. A lot of people take a look at some of these slick black American fighters and they think overall that just because they move their feet like Floyd Mayweather Jr. or that they move around the ring or fight on the back foot like Floyd Mayweather Jr., that they associate them with like that of a Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker or a Floyd Mayweather Jr. by association. Devin Haney fights a lot like Floyd Mayweather Jr., but he's a bad version of Floyd Mayweather Jr. That's what he is. And he's still a very good fighter, which goes to show you how great Floyd Mayweather Jr. actually was. But Devin Haney is not a great defensive fighter, and that is proven because he could not, in the second half of this fight, he could not get past that left hook for nothing. He was, and Ryan Garcia, to be honest with you, he really wasn't even setting up the left hook super well. Eventually, he finally was throwing the lead hand, I believe, which eventually kind of hit it a little bit. And Ryan Garcia, you can tell that he still makes a lot of amateur mistakes. In my personal view, there's certain things that Haney does better as a boxer. But Haney, in terms of his lack of defense sometimes, in personal moments or in important moments, sometimes it costs him to get hit or sometimes it costs him to get hurt. And of course, it cost him to get hurt a multitude of times throughout this fight, knocked down 3 separate occasions. And in my view, really at the very least, knocked down 4 times. In my view, that referee could have did a little bit of a better job. Once again, overall in that round, I thought that Devin Haney was holding on a little bit too long. And of course, I understand why Devin Haney is going to do that. I can't fault him for that. But Haney, in my view, was holding on a little bit too much. And if you're going to go after Ryan Garcia at times for holding and doing other stuff, which I have no problem with, you should be also going after Devin Haney, in my personal view. In my view, he was holding a little bit too much. But some of you may disagree, and I would understand. But anyways, Devin Haney, of course, he showed great heart. He showed great effort, but I just don't think that he showed great boxing ability. And the question is about this is that could Devin Haney do better than this? Or is this basically the best that we're ever going to get of Devin Haney? And like I said, this is why I also wanted to state that before you call someone debatably the Michael Jordan of the sport, like what Dante's Boxing Nation likes to do with his favorite black fighters, especially, and I review a lot of their videos, when it comes down to where he says that Canelo isn't the Michael Jordan of the sport, Fury isn't, Usyk isn't, Inoue isn't. They try to hype these fighters up. Once again, you're talking about fighters that have defeated multitudes of A-grade level names. It is what it is. Devin Haney has defeated multiple A-grade level names. But after this Ryan Garcia win, you cannot call him the best boxer in the world. You just can't. Because Ryan Garcia, in my personal view, he's an A-grade level fighter proven after this fight, but he's not a guy that has A-grade level boxing IQ. He had almost no lead hand in this fight whatsoever until the second half. In my personal view, Ryan Garcia could have won probably 8 to 9 rounds in this fight had he really just let his hands go. Because Devin Haney had no idea how to get past overall his level of power. And I always wondered that about Devin Haney. What is going to happen when he fights a guy that is going to be similar in size to him, a guy that's going to be a natural 140 pounder to potentially even bigger, and a guy that can handle overall his level of power and isn't super afraid of him? And in my personal view, Ryan Garcia was a little bit tenuous. He was a little bit nervous against Devin Haney. He can say whatever he wants to, but I think even he himself believed that Devin Haney was probably the better fighter, but he knew that he had the level of power. Ryan Garcia, throughout a lot of this fight, really fought like a Deontay Wilder. Now, of course, he fought better than what a Deontay Wilder did. He had a little bit more, pizzazz to it, but he did not really have a great lead hand. And someone also needs to someone also needs to talk overall to Derek James or Ryan Garcia about this stupid ass turning his back bullshit. I don't know what that is, but it's going to cost him one of these days because Devin Haney was catching him a multitude of times with that, and other more elite boxers are going to catch him even more. So once again, Ryan Garcia is going to have to stop that shit because that is a very amateurish move. That is a very, very big mistake to make in boxing. You never turn your back to your opponent. Now, you can shoulder roll and you can kind of turn your shoulder at times, but you do not ever turn your back to your opponent. That's a very good way to get hit with certain things. But once again, even with Ryan Garcia's deficiencies within this fight, it's a very disappointing performance by that of Devin Haney because I thought that, in my view, that he would be the better fighter. I thought that he would be the fresher fighter, and I thought that, of course, he was going to win this fight. But of course, and let me also respond to one of the guys overall that watch my videos here and there, and he says, you overall, should bet on this guy, bet on this guy. I never bet on professional sports. I never bet in a boxing match because you never know what can happen. I believe that probably a good 75% of people, at least within the boxing world, thought that Devin Haney was going to win this fight. And Ryan Garcia didn't just beat Devin Haney. It wasn't like, he won every single round, but he knocked him down on three separate occasions, at least officially. So that's why, once again, boxing or any sport, it doesn't really matter. When it comes down to it, you never know what can happen in the sport of boxing. You never know what can happen in any particular sport. You never underestimate anybody. And let me tell you what, I underestimated Ryan Garcia to a certain degree, but maybe, to be honest with you, I overestimated Devin Haney's skill set, because Ryan Garcia, still in my view, fought very much like an amateur in this fight. I did not think he was great defensively. I thought that his defense, of course, was better than what it was in prior fights. So, of course, that works a little bit. Of course, he has devastating power. And to be quite honest with you, if he really would have just let his hands go, he probably would have knocked Devin Haney out. Because Devin Haney, he had very little answers. I mean, you know that Ryan Garcia is really going to try to set up that left hook, and Devin Haney just got hit with it so many times in the second half of that fight. He's really lucky that he didn't get knocked out. So he's very lucky about that. But either way, I do believe that Devin Haney ended up losing the fight. And like I stated, I was also wondering how good Devin Haney was going to be on the inside. Because like I said, Haney can fight a little bit on the inside, but he's a guy that, once again, needs to keep his hands up a little bit more. And he's not a guy, once again, that's as great defensively as what you would think. He's not a Floyd Mayweather. He's not a Pernell Sweepy Whitaker. He's not what Terrence Bud Crawford was overall in the Errol Spence Jr. fight. He's not any of those fighters. And even Javante Tank Davis, as a black American fighter, he is excellent defensively when he needs to be. Now, sometimes he gets hit a little bit too much more for my liking, or a little bit too much, but, Javante Tank Davis, he's an excellent, excellent boxer when he needs to be. Excellent, excellent boxer. And now I think that there can be no question about it that that win by that of Javante Tank Davis, that it has to be an A-grade win. And before, while Javante Tank Davis was not on my top 10 pound for pound list, the question is now, does Javante Tank Davis deserve to be on my top 10 pound per pound list? And I might have to just eke him in there at the number 10 spot, especially now with Devin Haney losing his fight to Ryan Garcia when Javante was able to stop that overall of Ryan Garcia. And of course, now with Teofimo Lopez, in my view, getting a very controversial decision over Jermaine Ortiz. So we'll see what ends up happening. And who knows? That might leave room for other fighters like Vasily Lomachenko or other fighters to potentially make the top 10 pound per pound list as well. Or David Benavidez, of course, if he's able to win a title, or someone else like that. We'll see what ends up happening later on down the line. But this fight was very particularly interesting. But Devin Haney, in my view, he was just a little bit too tentative to throw in this fight, I believe. I think that he should have went to Ryan Garcia's body a little bit more. I think overall that, once again, his defense inside the range was very poor, and he just looked like he was scared to death of Ryan Garcia's power the whole entire time. As for Ryan Garcia, dude, use your lead hand. Stop overall turning your back to your opponent. If I'm Derek James overall, I'm screaming at him in the corner. Stop doing that. Stop doing that shit overall, because you're going to get hit by someone of these days. That is not a move overall, once again, that you do in professional boxing or fighting. Never. You never turn your back to your opponent. And Ryan Garcia, once again, one of these days he's going to get caught with something. But Devin Haney, in my view, was not intelligent enough or skilled enough or, confident enough, mainly confident enough, in my view, to really take advantage of that. Once again, which is very unfortunate, because I find Haney to have a lot of potential. And I thought that he was very well on his way to being a top 5 pound per pound fighter. But now after this, once again, Haney can no longer be on my top 10 pound per pound list. And it's also going to be very interesting, because we all know what Dante's Boxing Nation and Aki TV and some of these other LDBC and new media channels would say if Fury or Usyk or Inoue, or that a Canelo were to lose. What would they say? That they weren't as good as what they were hyped up to be. That's why they're not the number 1 pound per pound fighter. So is Dante's Boxing Nation and these guys going to say that Devin Haney was massively overrated? Are they going to say that he was a complete hype job? And even I personally would not agree with those standards. Now, of course, I view myself as a relatively logical and objective commentator, But I don't think that any fighter that has accomplished what Devin Haney has, of course, is a hype job, or someone that isn't a great fighter. I think that he is a great fighter, but he just fought very poorly within this fight. I thought that, of course, he was kind of winning the first half of the fight. I thought that Ryan Garcia won, rounds one and, maybe one of the, latter parts of the first half, like maybe round five or six. I think I gave him 2 rounds overall within the first 6 rounds, But Haney, of course, he was winning in certain areas. But in my view, he really should have made Garcia worry a little bit more because that lack of throwing, at least in certain rounds, in my personal view, it really it really got to Haney a little bit. And in my view, the pulling away of his right hand, it was just way too easy to feint on Devin Haney. It was way too easy to fake him out. And it looked like Devin Haney, even though I don't think he has the worst power in the world, it did look like overall his lack of power compared to Ryan Garcia really was a true problem. It looked like it was a real problem. And once again, Haney, a lot of people were commenting overall that Ryan Garcia looked nervous. Devin Haney looked nervous as well. He looked nervous throughout the whole entire fight. And I think that once he felt the left hook in that first round, that he was a little bit tentative overall to continue throwing against that Ryan Garcia. He didn't throw consistently against Ryan Garcia. And that's also a big part of the reason why I thought that he lost this fight. I thought that he could have been more consistent. I thought that he could have threw more, try to go to the body a little bit more, keep that right glove up near overall to the left side or to the right side of your face at all times, and he was keeping his right hand up, but it's almost like he was preparing to shoulder roll overall for that of a right cross. And Ryan will throw a right cross, but we all know that the main punch that he really tries to land is going to be that lead left hook. So it's just very unfortunate to see Haney, overall in my view, not really put up that good of a performance. Now, I did think that it was a very good fight because it had its back and forth moments. And right now, this would potentially be the fight of the year. And you also have to give it to DAZN as well because DAZN right now, they're putting on a lot of great fights between Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney. I believe that they have a share with the PBC for Canelo and Jaime Munguia. They have Usyk versus Fury. They have Juan Francisco Estrada, I believe, versus Jesse Bam Bam Rodriguez. They have Dimitri Bivol versus Artur Beterbiev. So DAZN right now, to be honest with you, they seem to be the leading candidates in terms of killing the game right now. And I like the PBC as well in top rank, but right now they're gonna have to start putting up bigger fights. So we'll see what that happens. We'll see if that happens. But congratulations to Mr. King Ryan Garcia. I do think that he makes a certain amount of amateurish mistakes, but this is going to do wonders for his confidence. The fight that I would love to see Ryan Garcia in next is potentially either Subriel Matias or that of a Isaac Pitbull Cruz. But we'll see. But Oscar may not put Ryan Garcia in a fight against them next because I don't think Oscar really expected Ryan Garcia to get out of this fight. I think that he basically was throwing Ryan Garcia to the wolves and saying, you know what, we got to cash out on this dude as soon as possible, when it comes down to it. And if he wins, then great, but if he loses like I expect him to, then whatever, then good riddance. Because I think Oscar De La Hoya was starting to kind of get tired of the Ryan Garcia train. But, I don't know. Maybe he's seen something in Ryan Garcia to where he said, you know what? I think that he's going to beat that of Devin Haney. I don't know, but it is what it is. But congratulations to Mr. King Ryan Garcia. I'm laughing a little bit because this fight was such a surprise to me, and I'm not shocked quite too often. But the fact overall that Devin Haney got knocked down 3 separate occasions, it's definitely not something that I was expecting. So I got to give a lot of credit to Ryan Garcia overall for proving me wrong and proving a lot of people wrong. And on top of that, pretty much shocking me because as a person that's been watching boxing for over a decade and fighting in general for over a decade, I have not seen many occasions to where I've really been as shocked as what I was here. And there's been, a certain amount of areas to where, I was a little bit shocked. Even with the Inoue and Fulton fight, I wasn't completely shocked. The Crawford versus Spence fight did shock me a little bit. But this fight, probably out of all of them, this fight, in my personal view, probably shocked me the most. I think had Devin Haney been knocked down once or twice, especially once, I don't think that I would have been that surprised. But the fact that he was knocked down officially 3 times, and in my view, probably should have been counted for 2 more knockdowns in the fight, that did end up shocking me a little bit. Just the fact overall that Devin Haney really didn't have a great amount of defense, and I know that he's a bit hittable. But the fact once again that Ryan Garcia was able to so easily at times get the left hook in there in the second half of the fight and pretty much easily feint and pretty much easily hide behind it when a lot of the times he really wasn't throwing that good of a lead hand or really a lead hand at all. It just really surprised me, and it showed in my view that Devin Haney, even though, he's a very greatly motivated fighter, like I always stated, I never seen him as an A plus level fighter in terms of skills. I think that maybe he's around the A grade level, but after this, I'm not really quite sure where Devin Haney's going to rank. He's going to have to work himself back up, and we'll see if there's going to be a rematch. But I'm not sure if Ryan Garcia is going to be rushing into a rematch, because I think Ryan Garcia knew very well that if he loses this fight, that it pretty much is going to be the end of his career. And I'm sure that Ryan Garcia, especially after the knockout loss to Gervonta Tank Davis, that he was going through a little bit of a depression and that he was going through a lot of mental issues. I don't have any doubt about that in my mind, whatsoever. But the fact that he was able to beat that of Devin Haney, once again, great on Mr. King, Ryan Garcia. But of course he wasn't able to win the belt because he missed weight by 3 pounds. But very good on Mr. Ryan Garcia. Great, overall effort. I can't really say that it was the greatest performance I've ever seen because he still made a lot of mistakes within the fight. But if Ryan Garcia gets sharpened up a little bit more within the next few fights, maybe even the next couple of years, he's still very young. Ryan Garcia, who knows? He may potentially be able to become a top 10 pound for pound fighter. Who knows? I doubt it, but we'll see. Because right now, he did just defeat a top 10 pound for pound fighter in my book, debatably a top 5 pound for pound fighter. So Ryan Garcia deserves a certain amount of credit here. But anyways, that's pretty much about it for today. Thank y'all so much for watching. Let me know what y'all thought on the fight. This definitely was one of the crazier fights that I have seen. And Ryan Garcia, of course, he was able to pull off the upset. But good on him. But anyways, that's pretty much about it for today. Thank y'all so much for watching. I'll talk to y'all later.